Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Jacob and I am joined today by Oliver, who is the CEO of Basenode.io, which is a cryptocurrency accounting and invoicing solution product. He's the CEO of this startup, and we're going to talk today a little bit about Basenode. Oliver, can you give your quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Jacob. Very happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And well, what we do at Basenode is crypto. We call it crypto accounting, but it's really very essential accounting features. So it's about sending invoices in cryptocurrencies. It's about fiat to crypto conversion. It's all the basic features you would expect from accounting software. Like you have your address book, you have all your public keys that you can manage and assign to an address and so on. So that's what we do.
Awesome. And what is your background? How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, so I don't have an IT background per se. So I was always very passionate about the blockchain as soon as I heard of it, and about IT in general. But I studied engineering. So I lived the past 10 years of my life in Hamburg, in Germany, and I studied industrial engineering and management there at the University of Hamburg. Did my master's back in 2019, and then I decided to do some research. So I started working at the university as a PhD student. Spoiler, I didn't finish my PhD because before that I got involved in the startup world, and it was so much more interesting for me, so that I quit my job at the university and started building Basenode.
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of my friends have done a similar thing, friends and coworkers. They start in their PhD program, and then the crypto world is moving so much faster, and it just whisks them away from their PhDs. So you're not alone there.
Yeah, maybe universities should pay better. I don't know.
Yeah, they got to get with the competition.
That's not the main reason. Of course. Yeah, that's not the reason.
All right. So I'm really interested in how Basenode got started. So you kind of gave us a little idea of how the idea itself got started, but how did you start then forming a team around this idea and start making progress on making this idea more of a reality?
Yeah. So at first, I have to share a little personal story here, because I back in 2019, I had the idea to bring blockchain knowledge to banks and institutionals. And maybe we were a little bit early back then, but I started my first startup there with two co-founders. And to do all the operational tasks, we hired freelancers, mostly from Philippines, because that's what you do, right? So we went to one of these big platforms where you can find those people, and they're very qualified, and you hire them and then you pay them by the hour. And a lot of these freelancers reached out to me, not through the platform, but like with a private email. And they said, well, Oliver, please pay me not through this platform, but please pay me with a cryptocurrency, because it's so much easier for me. And it was not just one, but it was multiple freelancers that did that. And the reason was not because they were doing in like some shady business or anything, because the real reason was that in their country, it's really hard to receive a crypto fiat payment. So in these countries like Philippines, India, South America, then often these people are underbanked, and they pay really high fees. If you send money, for example, from Germany to the Philippines, you pay like $5, $6, $10. And if you only earn like a couple of $100 maybe per week or per month, then this is a very high percentage for you. And that's when I found out that most of these freelancers that are located in emerging markets, which I think is the majority of them, they all have the same problem, and they really need a couple of tools to get around it and to embrace the potential of cryptocurrencies. And at Basenode, our mission is that we want to help them to take this step. And Basenode is right now inside of an incubator, which is the Blockchain Founders Group. It's a very big startup incubator in Germany, and we have some portfolio startups that are all more, they're all located in the blockchain space, and Basenode is one of them. In a couple of weeks, we will leave the incubator and actually become a real company because we got some funding. And we have a very small team, about 6 people right now that are working and trying to help freelancers embrace cryptocurrency payments. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have done a little bit of freelancing in my past too. Really enjoyed it. I was doing it full time for about a year and part time for probably another year on top of that. And something that you mentioned just a minute ago was how people in emerging markets are using cryptocurrencies as their method of payment. Freelancers are doing this. And that's one of the things I really love about cryptocurrency is that it's a great equalizer, an economic equalizer across like international borders. So I really love how you are taking advantage of how these emerging markets need this great equalizer, this cryptocurrency to help support their financial systems, and you're really making it easier for them to use a cryptocurrency. So that's great for freelancers. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned, you mentioned that you're in an incubator here, and I was wondering how a crypto startup like yourself goes about finding investors, finding an incubator or something like that that's willing to take you on and help you grow. What exactly did the process look like for that? I will come to that question, but first you mentioned something pretty interesting. That is, we are helping them, the freelancers in these underbanked countries, to make use of this technology. And that's actually a quite interesting point, because we are not actually supplying them with the technology, like for example, the Bitcoin or Ethereum network that is permissionless and is a great equalizer, as you said it. So it allows everyone to be in, like you can, like, it doesn't matter where you're from, what's your background, or no one can stop people from paying you your salary. And that's really beautiful in my eyes, because it's you don't even have to be a human. You can just be a machine. As long as you have a public address, people can send you a transaction. And it's so amazing that we have this technology. And I think that we at Basenode, we just make it more usable by facilitating this process, because every new emerging technology like the blockchain, or look at the internet like 20 years ago, right? So it wasn't really very usable. It was difficult. It was something more for nerds, maybe a little bit. And I don't mean it in a bad way, right? So, and the key to adoption is to supply a really simple user experience that anyone can understand. So that's what we're trying to do. But now back to your question. How did we find this incubator, right? So most of these entrance points to the startup world, for me at least, happened through personal contacts. And when I had my job at the university, it was only a part-time job, so 20 hours per week. And the rest of the time I spent either learning about the blockchain or going into co-working spaces and meeting people there. So if you want to get involved into a startup world yourself, I recommend going to meetups or just hanging out at a co-working space in your city, and you will find really interesting people there. And that's also how I met my first co-founders. In the kitchen, hanging out at the co-working space, and then talking about this and that, and then realizing that you might have a common mission that you want to accomplish, and then just go for it. Yeah. So, and then one thing led to another. And now we are inside. I got to know more important people through them, through the network effect, and then now I'm got to know the guy who's basically one of the main characters when it comes to blockchain and crypto education in Germany. It's Professor Philipp Sandner, and he's also involved in the Blockchain Founders Group. And then, I got this chance to participate there in this incubator program. Yeah. That's great that you bring up networking, because where I'm working right now, I'm a full-time contractor with a layer one cryptocurrency, and that was all networking as well. I got connected with one of their employees through a university targeting program. And then I got connected with this cryptocurrency, and one thing led to another, and I started working for them. So yeah, networking is really everything, very important. Yeah, great. So thank you so much for that answer. I think that's really helpful to focus on networking and yeah, really get your name out there and meet people. So then one more question about how Basenode has got started and what you're doing now. So how are you doing your outreach, your marketing, or your advertising? Because I heard about Basenode through a Discord server that I'm connected to. And I was just wondering what your strategies are for reaching out to people who might be interested in a product like this.
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because we are targeting the freelancer market. And as you can imagine, so there are more than 1 billion freelancers around the world. It's a huge market. It has a lot of potential, but not a lot of companies are approaching them, because they are very diverse, very heterogeneous in their interest. And you can be a freelancer as a musician, as an artist, as a coder, smart contract developer. It's such a broad spectrum that they are really hard to target. And so what you naturally do when you are a startup that aims like to engage with freelancers, then you pick one group of freelancers that is most likely to use your product. And then we decided, okay, we need to target freelancers that are developers, or maybe they are even in the crypto space, involved in some way. And then, how do you target them? Probably not with classical, traditional performance marketing. Maybe you have to go a little bit outside of this, of this old path. And then we came up with some really creative ideas, in my opinion. For example, we just go to Telegram groups, Discord servers. We go to subreddits where freelancers hang out. We go to some platforms where freelancers get paid in crypto already. Those exist. For example, LaborX was a very good platform for outreach. And then you can go a little bit more crazy. For example, you plan a virtual event in Decentraland, which we haven't done yet, but we're actually planning to do it. And you just rent out a land plot and build like a Basenode world, and you invite them there or something. So yeah, you can just really think outside the box, and that's what I like. So we have. So about half of our team right now, we are 6 people. The half of them is doing outreach, because it's so important. Because for me as a CEO, it's important to give the company a face, to give these freelancers that we are targeting a platform so they can present yourself. That's why we have our podcast, for example, where they can just talk about their own business. And freelancers love talking about their own business. And then maybe we get a little bit involved in the community. And it's also important for us to get more funding, because we're not creating revenue right now, because we haven't launched. What we need to do is really engage with those freelancers and identify their pain points, and also get a lot of traction, so I can show to potential investors that, hey, look, we have like 500 people waiting for our product, and this means that there must be a product market fit. So it's not so complicated in the end, but hard.
Sounds
to
like
achieve.
you have your hands in a lot of different areas of the internet all over the place. So yeah, that's really interesting. So you're really focusing on marketing even before you have your product fully completed, just so that you can secure that investment or secure those investors. Very interesting.
That's the main reason. But so let me just add this. Another reason is that we really we identified some pain points of the freelancers. Like, for example, they want to send an invoice that their client can pay in fiat, and then they receive crypto. That's just like one use case to further adoption. But we really want to talk to them so they can tell us their problems, and then we can figure out what we should really integrate and what we should build. So yeah, that's just another reason.
That's an interesting strategy for market research, to directly just reach out to the people who are going to be using your product and just ask them straight up, what are your problems? and then try and solve them.
That's really tricky, because you can't just ask people, what do you want, because people don't know what they want.
That's
most of them, right? So now it becomes a little bit philosophical, but if you ask people 100 years ago, what do you want, they would have said, well, faster horses, right? They wouldn't have to answer cars. So you have to come up with a better, you have to ask them, what is your problem? And then you come up with a solution as an entrepreneur.
I love it. I love it. Great. So you're looking at launching this product fairly soon. Is that correct?
Yes. So we have a development team, which is located in Poland. And we are doing a very quick version of a Scrum development process. So we have weekly reviews, and one sprint is always 1 week. And we have 8 sprints planned, and we are in the middle. So we're in the 4th sprint right now. And the product already has most of the basic functions, but it's still kind of buggy. So I wouldn't really present it to anyone outside the company. But by the end of this month, or maybe maybe 6 weeks or so, it will be presentable and it will be functional. And then we will launch a beta, just a closed beta. Yeah.
Okay. Closed beta for starters. Sounds good. In about 6 weeks. Very cool. So you mentioned that you're doing 8 sprints that are a week long. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what does that development cycle look like within each of your sprints? And how is your what is the life cycle and the structure of each workday and each sprint within there?
Oh yeah. So I'm sure you're familiar with the Scrum process.
Yes.
And what we did is, first we talked to the users. We're still doing this, but we derived a lot of user stories. Then we put them in a very long Excel sheet with all the requirements, and we formulated them in a certain way. So they are as a user, I want to do X because Y. So in this scheme, right? So then we go through them. We prioritized every requirement. Then we put them all on a big Trello board or project management board, right? And then we put all the requirements that have the priority A, so the highest one, first. They will be done in the first sprints, and we made sure that priority B always builds on top of priority A. So so priority A can be implement the Ethereum network, and priority B implement all ERC20 tokens too that are built on the Ethereum network. So they build up on each other. And then, we start just creating tasks from these requirements that are derived from the user stories. And then, we put as many tasks as possible in one sprint, and then we see how it goes. Along the way, we'll always make small changes. That's just it's a very agile process. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I love that development process. And I worked in, I usually go with 2-week sprints as what I've usually worked with before.
That's more common.
So you mentioned that you had 3 people who are working entirely on marketing and 6 total. So does that leave then 3 people on the development team? Is that how it's structured, or?
No. So, So the thing is, we have a development team, which is an external development team. So they are, as I said, they're located in Poland, and they are professional. They're specialized in building apps and web apps that are somehow connected to the crypto world. So I think they built an exchange, for example, in the past, and now they are really experts in their fields, and they have a team of about 5, 6 people. But they are not really part of Basenode. We just pay them by the month. So
gotcha. Okay, and so you're thinking efficient with an external third-party development team.
But we have full stack developers in our team. We have 2 full stack developers, and they are constantly checking our GitHub there. Every day when there's a new deploy, where they will just check the code and see what the team in Poland did, and if it's all properly commented, so we know what happens there.
Gotcha. All right, great. So then let's talk a little bit about what the tech stack looks like. So you say your developers are looking at the code every day, making sure that everything's going as planned. How is this product set up? Are you going to have, is it primarily a web app? Is there going to be a mobile app? What technologies are you using on the front end and the back end? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So just a little disclaimer, I'm not a developer. I mean, I'm not completely clueless in this field. I wrote some simple software and I can read code. So yeah, but I can't give very detailed deep dive answers. So what we are doing, first of all, we're on the back end, we are writing with Python. Because it's just a super efficient way to do it. So, and they have a really large framework that we can use, and we use the Django. We use Django to connect it to the front end, and everything is then connected to the front end. There in the front end, I think we use TypeScript, which is I think it's iteration of Java, right? I mean,
so TypeScript is like a superset of JavaScript, and it adds optional strict typing and static type checking. So it reduces. I use TypeScript in all of my front end projects. It reduces a lot of errors just as a compile time step instead of you have to find them in runtime. So. Yeah, definitely big fan of TypeScript. And then, so on the front end, is your application built in React or one of the other large front end frameworks? Or
we're using React and Angular. Angular is for the Web3 integration, because when you're building a cryptocurrency web app, then people they're very much concerned about privacy, so they don't necessarily want to sign in with their email or with a Google account. I mean, some do, but we offer to sign in with your MetaMask, just with your public key, for example. So then for the Web3 integration, we need the Angular, Angular framework. And of course, then we have an SQL database just for all the user data that we're storing. And it's all deployed in the Google Cloud. We had the choice between Amazon Web Service and Google Cloud, and they both have good programs for startups. So they give us free $, basically free credit, just to get started. And Google gave us more free credit, so we picked them because it doesn't really matter for us which one.
I know something that's been getting popular somewhat recently, or maybe over the past 5 years or so, is the NoSQL database. Was that ever a consideration for you? Something like Mongo or Firebase?
No, not really. I mean, we really trusted our development team to make the decision there. And we didn't consider it so far.
Gotcha. And then since you're based out of Europe, have you had any difficult or interesting run-ins with the GDPR?
So what kind of what exactly do you mean by that? Can you give me an example? What happened to other companies there?
I'm not very familiar with GDPR stuff because I'm primarily a developer first. So I just do what the legal team tells me to do. But I know some of the interesting restrictions that GDPR places on companies that deal with the data of EU citizens or EU members or something like that is you have to, there has to be an option for a user to see all of their data that a company is storing and also delete all of that data, which is when I first heard about GDPR, I was immediately thinking about how is this going to affect blockchain-based companies or companies in the crypto space, because one of the defining features of cryptocurrencies is that it's irreversible. Once something's on the blockchain, it's there to stay. So has that been a concern for you?
So there's a lot of such regulation here. And usually on every website that is hosted in the European Union, you have to put this little disclaimer that you're using cookies and you're using user data and so on. And of course, we do that, so it's already integrated. But then again, when it comes to storing user data, then you are right. It can get a little bit tricky. Usually, you get a consultants agency that is making sure or is auditing you that you meet all the regulations. And for Basenode, especially, it's so we are storing user data and like emails and names, but we are not, we don't have to do KYC because we are not actually doing storing any coins, right? So we are just looking at the blockchain data that is publicly available. We use an API called Covalent for that. And they are just giving us all the transaction data, and we're just displaying what is already public anyways. We're just putting it in a nice user interface and creating that. So, but yeah, this is something that is taken care of. Yeah.
All right, gotcha. So, perfect. All right, I think that about wraps up our time that we have for today. Thank you, Oliver, for coming on the YouTube channel today. It was a great pleasure to have you. And where can people find you online and learn more about Basenode?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so you can just go to basenode.io and have a look at our website. And otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Oliver, for taking the time. Great pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.